sa iba kundi sa iyo at sa akin ang simula ng pagbabago. Panahon na para bumangon at paikutin muli ng tama ang mundo. Suliranin ng ating lipunan, unti-unting magagawan ng paraan. Sa bagong siglo na ito ng ating mga buhay, tayo'y magsama-sama. Bigyang liwanag ang daan, maging gabay sa lipunan, kailangan ng iyong kamay.
Halika na kapwa Pilipino, halika na kapwa isko at iska.
Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo. Ang armas mo ay ang iyong natutunan laban sa karahasan. Ang iyong sandata ay serbisyong sasakip sa mamamayan mula sa kahirapan. Halika na, kapwa mandirigma, magtagumpay, kapwa isko at iska. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sarap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. iba kundi sa iyo at sa akin ang simula ng pagbabago. Panahon na para bumangon at paikutin muli ng tama ang mundo. Suliranin ng ating lipunan, unti-unting magagawan ng paraan. Sa bagong siglo na ito ng ating mga buhay, tayo'y magsama-sama. Bigyang liwanag ang daan, maging gabay sa lipunan, kailangan ng iyong kamay.
Halika na kapwa Pilipino, halika na kapwa isko at iska.
Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo. Ang armas mo ay ang iyong natutunan laban sa karahasan. Ang iyong sandata ay serbisyong sasakip sa mamamayan mula sa kahirapan. Halika na, kapwa mandirigma, magtagumpay, kapwa isko at iska. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Huwag mong iasa sa iba kundi sa'yo at sa akin ang simula ng pagbabago. Taas kamay ang mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng
Pasulong! Kod! Kulay! To! Tanghal! Kulay!
Luman ang araw ng walhati pagsikta. Afternoon from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Ako po si Adele Intervalo and I will be your host for today's session. Welcome to Bayanihan Common Module Webinar Series. Yan, isa itong inisyatibo ng NSTP Diliman Office to tackle three of the NSTP Common Module topics: National Security, DRRM, at Environmental Protection. Today, we will have the last installment of the webinar series, Kalikasan webinar session, and we will talk about environmental protection. Binabati rin namin ang ating mga participants mula sa iba't ibang panig ng Pilipinas through Zoom and the NSTP Diliman YouTube Live. So hello, good afternoon. Chat naman kayo sa chat box natin kung handa na kayo para sa session today. Bago po tayo magsimula sa ating programa, we would like to discuss a few house rules to our participants. First, we will prioritize questions gathered in the registration forms for our Q&A. For other questions, please type your questions in the chat thread or ask a question out loud by using Zoom's raise hand feature and wait for the host moderator, that's me, to acknowledge you. Second, please indicate to whom your question is for example, to Prof. Diliman. How is NSTP conducted in your unit? And last, certificates will be awarded to those who request for one and comply with minimum requirements through the webinar evaluation form. The link for the webinar evaluation form will be announced at the end of the session. Now, let's have a brief recap of the Bayanihan series. Last month, on September 5, we held the Katatagan session of Bayanihan webinar series, which is about national security. Kasama natin dito sina Professor Robert Joseph Medillo of National Defense College of the Philippines, Colonel Ronald Jess Alcudia of the Office of Deputy Chief Staff for Retiree and Reservist Affairs, and J9 Armed Forces of the Philippines. And syempre kasama natin si Assistant Professor Dennis Kilala from the College of Social Sciences and Philosophy, UP Diliman. Pinag-usapan natin noon ang external security threats at ang NSTP, human security, and national security. Now, last Monday, we held the Kahandaan session, and we talked about the RRM with Ms. Shireen Lucas Hombrebueno from Interim Disaster Preparedness Service, Office of Civil Defense, with Ms. Maria Isabel Abigania from PBOX DOST and Ms. Flordelis Agra of UP Resilience Institute, UP Diliman. Now, in case you missed this session, don't worry at maaari nyo itong balikan at ma-access sa YouTube page ng NSTP Diliman Office. Ngayon naman, tatalakayin natin ang isa pa sa mga common module topics ng NSTP. At yun ay ang environmental protection. Now, let me introduce our first speaker. Ms. Susan Joyce A. Se graduated with a degree of Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication, minor in Development Communication, as cum laude from St. Scholastica's College, Manila in 2007. She currently works as an Ecosystems Management Specialist at the DENR Biodiversity Management Bureau and a part of the Bureau's Communication, Education, and Public Awareness team as a writer, lecturer, storyteller, and performer. She does all these things for the love of the Philippine diversity. So let us welcome Ms. Joyce Se.
Hello, magandang hapon. Isang mga kalikasang hapon sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat, Adele, for your introduction. So hello sa ating mga isko at iska na nakikinig at nag-a-attend ng webinar na ito. So Adele, pwede na ba akong mag-share screen?
Yes po, pwede na po.
Alright, so simulan na natin to. Okay, so ako si Ate Joyce from the DENR Biodiversity Management Bureau at ngayong hapon pag-uusapan natin yung about Philippine biodiversity issues, challenges, and initiatives. So nasabi nga kanina ni Adele, so I am part of the Communication, Education, and Public Awareness team of the Bureau. So I do storytelling as well, and meron din akong character na piniplay sa aming mga dalaw turo o yung mga visits namin sa mga school. And dahil currently nagka-pandemic, and nasa pandemic pa rin tayo ngayon, meron kaming online dalaw turo na nilaunch namin din sa YouTube and meron din sa Facebook. Okay, so for our talk for today, ang pag-uusapan natin is more on Biodiversity 101, Philippine Biodiversity, ano yung mga facts and figures. Tapos, pag-uusapan din natin ecosystem services, ano yung mga threats sa biodiversity at initiatives ng BMB. So, kailangan natin pag-usapan ang mga ito, parang more on back to basics tayo para din kapag, for example, bumaba kayo sa inyong mga communities, ay sana may maalala kayo sa talk na to at matulungan nyo kami na mare-echo ang mga learnings ninyo sa ating mga communities. Okay, so what is biodiversity? So ito, parang yung complex definition niya according to the Convention on Biological Diversity is the variability among living organisms from all sources, including inter alia, terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems and the ecological complexes of which they are part. So in Tagalog, simplihan lang natin, samot-saring buhay o yung iba't ibang uri ng buhay at ang kanilang pag-uugnayan. So yun lang yung pwede nating ikwento. Ano yung biodiversity? Napaka-complex naman ng term na to. So sa mga common people, sabihin lang natin, ito yung lahat ng buhay, iba't ibang uri ng buhay at kanilang pag-uugnayan. Tapos, next natin ay, of course, the 3 levels of biodiversity. So, meron tayong genetic diversity, yung diversity within species, species diversity or the diversity of living organisms in a certain area, and the ecosystem diversity, which incorporates both habitat and community diversity. So, yun yung 3 levels of biodiversity. Now, of course, the Philippines, we are blessed to have more than 52,177 described species, and half of which are endemic or hindi mahahanap sa iba mang parte ng mundo. At dito lang sa Pilipinas, minsan area-specific pa or island-specific pa yung mga species na ito. Pag-usapan natin. So tayo, of course, ang ating bansa ay part of the 17 mega-diverse countries. So itong mga mega-diverse countries na ito contains 2/3 or 70% of the world's biodiversity. So isa tayo dito sa 17 mega-diverse countries na to na nag-hold ng 70% of the world's biodiversity. At of course, na-mention ko nga kanina, mataas yung endemicity natin. Ano nga ba yung level ng uniqueness ng Philippine biodiversity? So sa birds, pag pinag-usapan natin yung avifauna o yung mga birds, more than 700 species yung birds yung matatagpuan dito, and 251 out of the 700 are endemic or dito lamang matatagpuan. So yun yung mga examples natin, si Philippine eagle, Philippine cockatoo, Rufous hornbill, tsaka si Philippine eagle owl. Tapos sa reptiles naman, pag pinag-usapan natin, of course, isa na yung ating famous na Philippine crocodile or the freshwater crocodile. 354 species of reptiles at 246 dito ay endemic. Tapos pag amphibians naman yung pinag-usapan natin, 118 species of amphibians yung tatagpuan dito sa bansa natin at 96 dito ay endemic. Noong taong 2017, nag-feature kami ng calendars featuring yung ating mga herps. So para, 'di ba, yung parang hindi sila ganun ka-charismatic, but they are, of course, they are important part of biological diversity. Kaya may mga, kumbaga, taon-taon sa mga materials din namin, nag-feature kami ng mga iba't ibang mga part ng biodiversity. So eto, noong 2017, ayan, yun yung feature namin, more about herps sa aming calendar, Bureau calendar. And then for land mammals naman, sa 207 na land mammals na meron dito sa ating bansa, 135 ay endemic. Siyempre, sikat na sikat dito, number 1, si ating tamaraw, nasa Mindoro lamang matatagpuan. Along with the warty pig, and then of course si flying lemur. So flying lemur naman sa Mindanao siya nakikita. Tapos pag flora naman yung pinag-usapan natin, 9,959 flora are found in the country at 4,728 ay endemic. So halos kalahati ay endemic sa ating Philippine flora. Tapos pumunta naman tayo sa karagatan. Pagdating natin sa karagatan, the Philippines has more than 3,000 known species of fishes, and we have 28 species of marine mammals, including the critically endangered dugong. At did you know, out of 7 species of marine turtles, 5 can be found in Philippine waters. So ito yung mga nakikita natin dito sa ating mga karagatan, they are migratory species. So dito makikita natin sila sa Philippine waters. So si olive ridley, loggerhead, hawksbill turtle, green sea turtle, and the leatherback turtle. So yan yung mga species na marine turtles na makikita natin dito sa ating bansa. Tapos pag-usapan naman natin, part tayo nito ng Coral Triangle. So our country is at the apex. So nandun tayo sa tuktok ng Coral Triangle. At of course, yung ating coastline, it's the 6th longest in the world, measuring up to 37,000 square kilometers of coastline. Tapos yung coral cover natin, nasa 2.5 million hectares. Mga around species natin, mga species natin ng corals, nasa around 500. And then 1,760 reef fish species, and yung valued point at around 207 billion per year. So ito yung kumbaga parang natural capital accounting yung pinag-uusapan sa valuation. And tayo din ay itinuturing na center of marine shorefish biodiversity. So 300 coral species that host world's known shorefish species. So ito yung sa bandang Verde Island, yung ating Verde Island Passage. Siya yung tinuturing na center of marine shorefish biodiversity. And based on the data, yun nga po, meron tayong 19 species of seagrasses, 42 mangrove species, and 500 species of corals. And also, pag pinag-usapan natin yung mga flyway sites natin, kasi di ba nga, mapapansin nyo ngayon, Burr month na. So, nung second week of October, pinagdiwang natin yung World Migratory Bird Day. So, tuwing Burr months, mapapansin natin sa mga especially sa mga ilang areas natin, dumadami yung mga ibong dayo o yung mga migratory birds. Sana dito yung mga tagak na tinatawag natin. So, merong mga iba't ibang flyways sa mundo. So meron tayo yung African Eurasian Flyway, America's Flyway, tapos meron din yung East Asian Australasian Flyway. At doon tayo parte, yung Pilipinas. So dito meron tayong 4 flyway network sites. So ito si Olango Island Wildlife Sanctuary sa Cebu, Nauhan Lake National Park sa Mindoro, Tubataha Reefs Natural Park sa Palawan, and Negros Occidental Coastal Wetlands Conservation Area sa Negros Occidental. So ito, mahalaga yung role na piniplay nila dahil ito ay kumbaga parang pahingahan ito. Actually, marami pa tayong mga wetlands dito sa ating bansa na kumbaga dito din nagre-rest yung mga migratory birds natin. But these are the itong 4 sites na to, internationally recognized sila as flyway network sites. Itong mga na-mention ko na ito. At apart from it, pag-usapan naman natin ngayon mga protected areas. So kung naririnig nyo, diba? Ito ay yung mga legislate natin. Ito yung mga isa tong mahalagang component sa in situ conservation natin, itong ating mga protected areas. So as of now, as of the present, meron tayong 248 na protected areas. So 114 doon legislated, so may mga RAs na po ito. Itong 13 ay proclaimed, so ito yung may mga presidential proclamation after 1992. Tapos ito namang initial components, sila yung may mga RA na, so may mga presidential proclamations na, but these were issued before 1992. Kasi nung 1992, naipasa yung National Integrated Protected Area System Act. So yung NIPAS. So ito yung kumbaga yung parang network or ito yung batas na nangangalaga sa ating mga protected areas. But Ngayon, nung 2018, nagkaroon tayo ng expanded NIPAS Act. So, from konti lang na legislated area, ay nadagdagan ito. So, ngayon, 140 na tayo. Meron pa tayong nadagdag na 7 dito sa mga na-legislate. Very recently lang. So, ito, importante itong mga protected areas natin para mapangalagaan yung biodiversity. These are cradles of biodiversity. Siyempre, yung mga ecosystems na nandito sa mga protected areas ito at yung mga species din natin at yung mga, especially yung mga threatened species na dito natin matatagpuan. So, ano-ano nga ba rin yung, gaano ba kalaki yung area na nako-cover nitong ating mga protected areas, so itong 248 na to. So, ang total na nako-cover niya is 7.79 million hectares. So, sa land area niya is 4.65 million hectares, while yung marine area naman, yung ating waters, Philippine waters na marine protected areas is 3.14 million hectares. So, 15% ng Philippine land area yung mga protected areas at 1.42% ng marine waters, including yung exclusive economic zone na tinatawag, ay mga protected areas. So, ayan, yung mga newly legislated protected areas, ngayong taon lang ito na legislate. So, ano pa sila? Part na rin sila ng legislated, pero hindi sila nakasali dun sa INAIPAS na sabay-sabay, yung omnibus bill na sabay-sabay 94 yun eh. So, ito yung mga kaka-legislate lang din. So, meron tayong dalawa sa Cordillera Administrative Region, si Banao Protected Landscape at si Mount Pulag Protected Landscape. So finally, dati kasi presidential proclamation lang si Mount Pulag, but now officially legislated na siya. Meron na siyang RA. Tapos sa Region 1 naman, si Tirad Pass Protected Landscape. Sa Region 3, si Mount Arayat Protected Landscape. So si Mount Arayat, trivia. So finally then, may RA na rin siya, legislated. Siya yung unang-unang protected area natin. So nung nung 1932, yun, nagkaroon nung na-establish yung mga national parks, si Mount Arayat ay isa sa mga unang protected area na tinawag natin na national park. So ngayon finally meron na siyang legislation, meron na siyang RA. And then sa Region 9 naman, si Naga Cabasalan Protected Landscape at meron pang nadagdag. Ito si Tugbo Natural Biotic Area in Region 5 sa Masbate and Sisicogon Wildlife Sanctuary sa Region 6 sa Carle, Iloilo. Yan yung mga bago natin na protected areas. Mga kaka-legislate lang. So itong mga protected areas na to, meron pa to, kumbaga, meron silang parang elite circle dito sa ASEAN. So sa atin, dito sa Pilipinas, meron tayong 9 ASEAN Heritage Parks. So kapag itong mga heritage parks ito yung mga, kumbaga, talaga ganun kataas yung value nila para ma-recognize siya sa buong ASEAN as an ASEAN Heritage Park. So, currently, meron tayong 9. So, ano-ano to? Number 1, si Mount Apo Natural Park. Tapos, sumunod si Mount Iglit Bako Natural Park na siya sa Mindoro. So, si Mount Apo sa Davao and sa Cotabato area, then Mount Iglit Bako Natural Park sa Mindoro. Tapos Mount Kitanglad Range Natural Park also in Mindanao. Mount Malindang Range Natural Park also in Mindanao. Si Agusan Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary in Agusan del Sur, Mindanao pa din. And then Tubataha Reefs Natural Park in Cagayan Silio, Palawan. Of course, kung diver ka, kung sino mga divers dito, I know isa to sa mga bucket list ng mga divers. Hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, but also, of course, around the world. So, isa siyang world-class destination, diving destination. Tapos, balik tayo sa Mindanao uli, Mount Hamiguitan Range Natural Park. Tapos, ito naman si Mount Stipoong Hibok-Hibok Natural Monument sa Camiguin. Now, kung na-recognize yung 9 na yun as an ASEAN Heritage Park, of course, meron pang mas mataas na recognition, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, meron tayong 6 na UNESCO World Heritage Sites dito sa Philippines, and 3 of these sites are natural sites categorized as protected areas under the NAIPA. So ano-ano to? Si Tubataha, parang pinakyaw niyo na lahat ng awards. Siya ay isang ASEAN Heritage Park. Siya rin ay isang UNESCO World Heritage Site. At mamaya meron pa siyang recognition na international din yon. So, syempre din si Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park at si Mount Hamiguitan Range Wildlife Sanctuary. So, yan yung tatlo natin na ano natin, kumbaga, ito yung mga pambato natin. UNESCO World Heritage Site natin to. So, ito, pag-usapan naman natin itong mga Ramsar sites. What are Ramsar sites? So, ito naman yung, pag sinabi nating Ramsar sites, ito yung mga wetlands of international importance. Bakit siya tinawag na Ramsar sites? Para ito yung nickname niya. Ang talagang term sa kanya is wetlands of international importance. Pero ang nickname niya si Ramsar sites kasi si Ramsar Convention on Wetlands ay na-ratify noong taong 1971 sa Ramsar sa Iran. So sa city of Ramsar sa Iran, dun siya na-ratify itong convention na to. So parang tinawag siyang Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. So yan, currently we have 8 wetlands of international importance. The latest is the Sasmuan, Pampanga Coastal Wetlands. So ano yung unang-unang Ramsar site natin? Si Olango Island Wildlife Sanctuary sa Cebu, ang unang-una nating Ramsar site. Tapos sumunod si Nauhan Lake National Park sa Oriental Mindoro, followed by Agusan Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary in Agusan del Sur. Tapos si Tubataha Reefs Natural Park in Palawan, Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park sa Palawan din. Tapos, yan, si Las Piñas, Parañaque Critical Habitat and Ecotourism Area. Dito lang yan, malapit ngayon sa may Cavitex na park. So if you live in the south, makikita nyo siya lagi, like me, lagi siya nakikita. And then, of course, Negros Occidental Coastal Wetlands Conservation Area or Sinacuaca sa Negros. At syempre, ang latest na ating Ramsar Site or Wetland of International Importance ay si Sasmuan, Pampanga Coastal Wetlands na declare siya as the 8th Ramsar Site of the Philippines noong 50th anniversary, golden anniversary ito ng Ramsar Convention. So 50th anniversary nila noong February 2, 2021 during the celebration of the World Wetlands Day 2021. Kaya napaka-special ng declaration niya. Okay, so napag-usapan na natin ano yung mga protected areas, yung ating mga wetlands of international importance, yung uniqueness ng Philippine biodiversity, the Philippines being part of the 17 megadiverse countries. So tatanungin nyo or pag alimbawa ni-lecture nyo rin to or ni-echo nyo to sa community. So what? Anong pakinabang namin dyan? Pwede tayong matanong ng ganun. Ano ngayon if we are part of the megadiverse countries? So what? So ang lagi nating kailangan ipaliwanag ay ang biodiversity ay connected sa ating sikmura, sa ating pamumuhay. So, biodiversity underpins the ecosystem services that all people ultimately depend on at all scales, from the individual to the global, rich and poor alike. So, ito yung mga pakinabang na ibinibigay sa atin ng biodiversity. Kapag balanse ang biodiversity natin, maayos niyang maibibigay itong mga ecosystem services na to, such as provision, regulating, supporting, at cultural. So, syempre, lagi natin, minsan hindi nila na-appreciate, especially kapag mga nasa urban areas, yung ating mga kumbaga, communities, di ba? Para sasabihin, yung fish, nabibili lang namin sa palengke. Pero, di ba, paano kapag mahirap na ang huli ng isda? Paano kapag ang level ng dam, di ba? Yan, apektado. Pag nag-summer na naman, affected na naman yung ating supply ng tubig. Yung the air that we breathe, di ba? Tapos, ano yung sa syudad, napakahalaga nito dahil lagi natin nirereklamo dito, mainit. Ano yung nagpapa-cool ng temperature? Ano yung nagme-maintain ng cool temperature natin? Yung nagpo-purify ng tubig natin. Tapos, ano din yung parang gusto mong mag-chillax ng konti, di ba? Dito sa Quezon City, marami tayong mga green parks dito. Isa na tong Ninoy Aquino Parks and Wildlife Center, yung aming headquarters ng Biodiversity Management Bureau. So at least kami or yung mga karatig lugar makapunta dito. And then of course, sa mga mahilig dyan mag-trail ride, yung mga sa gravel or mountain bikes, punta lang tayo sa La Mesa. Maganda yung trail nila doon. So, ayan, yun yung mga naibibigay sa atin. Aesthetic, recreation, and then, syempre, especially nung kasagsagan, di ba, ng COVID-19 pandemic, nung mga panahon ng mga ECQ, na-trap tayo sa bahay natin, we longed for nature. Of course, yun yung parang kinailangan talaga natin. At lalo siya naging relevant, especially for us urban dwellers. Kaya rin talagang ipinupush namin yung isa naming program ngayon, yung Urban Biodiversity Program namin, para din mapaintindi natin na yung biodiversity is not just situated in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas, yung mga metropolis natin across the country. So, yun yung importansya ng biodiversity. We need to communicate to the people that we interact with, especially yung mga communities na tingin natin is hindi naman sila hindi ganoon ka lagi, kumbaga the information that they get, hindi lagi silang yung access nila to information about, of course, the environment ay hindi lagi. Pwede tayong, we can be the voice ng biodiversity, not just the government, but all of us. So, kumbaga, biodiversity is life, biodiversity is our life. Parang dami-dami tayo dito. We all live in the same world. So, kailangan parang magtulungan tayo para mapanatili natin o maalagaan natin yung biodiversity at tuloy-tuloy niyang maibigay itong mga ecosystem services na to. Okay. So, ang problema nga lang, on a per unit area basis, the Philippines is a top mega diverse country, but also the hottest, among the hottest of the hotspots. At noong 1999 nga, yung Philippines, unfortunately, na-identify tayo further as one of the global hotspots. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga number ng threatened species talaga is tumataas. Although mayaman tayo sa species, but tumataas din yung, kumbaga, yung pagiging threatened nila because of so many factors, yung mga habitat loss, tsaka syempre yung talagang binabantayan namin maigi yung at kino-combat na maigi yung ating illegal wildlife trade. So, ayan, ilan sa mga threats sa biodiversity? Number 1, climate change. Tapos syempre si habitat loss, illegal wildlife trade, land, coastal, and marine degradation, and conversion as well. Then pollution, and of course, yung invasive alien species. So, merong isang bureau na nangangalaga dito sa ating biological diversity. At kami yon. Kami ay isang staff bureau ng DENR, the Biodiversity Management Bureau. So, ang mission namin is to conserve and sustainably manage the country's biodiversity. And yung vision namin is a Philippine biodiversity that provides natural resiliency and sustained benefits for all. So yun yung vision na naturally resilient tayo at yung sustained benefits sa tulong ito, of course, ng mga ecosystem services, which I have mentioned earlier. And we have, ito yung mga 3 main programs ng Bureau namin: protected areas, ecosystems management protection, which includes yung protected areas, ito ating mga caves, ating mga wetlands, and then wildlife protection and conservation, and then of course yung ating marine and coastal biodiversity. So ito yung mga legal basis natin, ating mga programa. So under the protected area development and management, it covers the main in situ measures. So in situ yung kumbaga yung mga natural natin na measures to conserve biodiversity within and adjacent sa ating mga protected areas. So ang legal basis natin dito, of course, Republic Act 11038. Ito yung Expanded National Integrated Protected Areas System Act of 2018. So amended na yung 1992 natin, yung 7586. And then also protection and conservation of wildlife. I also forgot to mention na under din itong protected area development and management yung mga caves and wetlands. So meron din tayong Cave Act, yung RA 9072. So nandito yung mga yung pangangalaga natin sa ating mga kuweba. Of course, kasi alam niyo naman, kumbaga, kung may kanta na 1,000 years, yun yung parang pwede mong, yung kanta na pwede mong i-dedicate sa mga caves because of course, napaka-fragile at napaka-unique na ecosystem sa to. At yun, ang legal basis niya is RA 9072. At sa ating mga wetlands, wala pa, as of now, may isinusulong na batas na which we really hope na ma-legislate yung ating kumbaga Wetland Protection Act, ating Wetland Act. Kasi National Wetland Protection Act. Dahil kapag ito ay na-legislate, at least finally magkakaroon na tayo ng legal basis for our wetlands. Kumbaga ito na talaga yung national na wetland protection program natin. Nandito na talaga yung mga batas na consolidated na, hindi na siya kumbaga parang kalat-kalat. Kasi sa ngayon, iba-ibang batas yung parang sinasite mo for the protection of wetlands. But once this is legislated, tuloy-tuloy na to para sa ating mga wetlands. And also, meron din tayo sa protection conservation of wildlife. So it deals with the conservation and protection of wildlife and or maintenance, restoration, and enhancement of their habitat. So ang legal basis naman natin dito is si Wildlife Act, RA 9147, na ngayon ay isinusulong din yung amendment. So kumbaga yung ating revised Wildlife Act na nag-i-impose ng mga stricter fines, penalties, mas pinaigting na protection for our wildlife, and of course stricter penalties para sa ating mga illegal wildlife traders. And lastly, yung ating management of coastal and marine resources or areas. So it focuses on the sustainable management of coral reefs, seagrass beds, mangroves, mudflats, and water quality of our coastal areas. So meron po kaming programa, yung ating CMEMP, Coastal and Marine Ecosystems Management Program. So ito po yung kumbaga parang main program for the protection and management of our coastal and marine resources or areas. Okay, so yun yung about biodiversity. Yun yung trabaho namin para mapangalagaan ng biodiversity. So now, what can you do as students at sa ating mga magiging community partners sa ating community para mapangalagaan din ang biodiversity? Of course, number one, practice what we preach. So ako din, as an employee of the Biodiversity Management Bureau, this is the challenge for every one of us, not just me, but syempre sa aming lahat, sa ating lahat, yung practice what we preach. So parang kumbaga walk the talk. Kinakailangan kung yung tinuturo namin, ay pinapractice din namin. Tapos, support local industries and biodiversity-friendly enterprises. So ito, more on sa mga tourism sites, sa ating mga ecotourism sites, pag na-visit tayo sa ating mga protected areas as much as possible, ngayong nabubuhay na naman yung travel, sana unahin natin yung ating mga protected areas, yung ating, kumbaga, local tourism natin. And maisingit ko lang din, ngayong 2022, sinaselebrate natin yung Year of the Protected Areas. So, kung pwede nyong, now is the best time, kumbaga, to jumpstart your PA adventures as we celebrate the Year of the Protected Areas. Kasi if once na-visit natin sila, of course, we visit them kumbaga in a responsible and sustainable manner. We help communities grow and earn a living. And also, inaano rin natin, nadidiscipline din natin yung sarili natin dapat to refuse excessive spending. And then also reduce consumption of resources and energy, avoid usage of excessive packaging. Ayan, dapat matuto na tayong mag-conserve, magbaon. Kung po pwedeng mag-lunchbox uli, gawin natin yun. Tapos, reuse, recycle if possible. Let us not have a throwaway culture. Kumbaga, yung mga pwedeng ayusin, paayos natin. Especially, nung Friday, kaka-celebrate lang din natin ng International E-Waste Day. So, parang e-waste awareness. So, kung yung mga gadget natin ay po pwede pa nating mapapaayos, instead na itapon natin yung mga ating electronic gadgets, gawin natin, ipaayos natin. Baka kasi po pwede pa naman siya paayos. At least, bawas siya sa basura na mapoproduce natin. And then sa mga mahilig mag-online shopping, may mga, alam ko may mga orgs na tumatanggap ng mga packaging natin. Yung mga, or minsan kapag, for example, sa amin, may mga nakaabang na ng mga, ng mga bubble wrap, etc. Tapos, keep yourself informed. So, ayan, this is one way of educating ourselves. And also, pag educate kayo, pay it forward by educating others, and then create a positive impact and increase awareness. Join and participate sa mga campaigns. So, thank you very much, Ded, for inviting us for organizing this activity. So, for more information, like and share aming Facebook page. So para din matutunan nyo about the year. For more info about the year of the protected areas, visit our Facebook, DENR-Biodiversity Management Bureau. And also sa aming YouTube channel, pag may mga, if you need videos na related sa biodiversity, visit nyo lang Biodiversity Management Bureau, search nyo sa YouTube, may YouTube channel yung BMB. And of course, yung website namin, www.bmb.gov.ph. And let me end with my favorite quote sa Laudato Si. It's an encyclical letter. So, because all creatures are connected, each must be cherished with love and respect, for all of us as living creatures are dependent on one another. Maraming salamat po. Back to you, Adele.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Joyce. Again, let us remember and do the following for biodiversity. Practice what we preach. Support local industries and biodiversity-friendly enterprises. Reduce consumption of resources and energy. Keep ourselves informed. Educate others. Join and participate in campaigns. At salamat po, Miss Joyce, na sinabi niyo na this year, 2022, sineselebrate natin ang Year of the Protected Areas. Ayan. So, we'll make sure to really participate by following your pages. Ayan. So, reminder to the participants in Zoom and at our YouTube Live, if you have any questions or comments about the presentation, you can use the chat in Zoom or YouTube. Then we will have a Q&A session later where your questions will be raised. Okay, thank you. Now let's proceed to the next presentation. Let me introduce Ms. Maria Tessa Ramos. She's a digital nomad by profession and a conservationist by heart. She learns to design a career that fits her advocacy. She's a farmer, a consultant, a community organizer, and a CEO of a small digital marketing agency. She took up agricultural engineering and later got her certification as a permaculture designer. She has been leading teams in community relief operations and development and discovered her life's mission, Philippine Native Trees Conservation. As an active member of the Philippine Native Tree Enthusiasts, she raises awareness of the importance of our indigenous trees and trains communities and organizations on propagating and designing sustainable agroforests. She also partners with other missions on protecting and revitalizing coastal ecosystems in her province. As a co-founder and VP for Advocacy and Collaboration for EVSNTC, she builds a network of like-minded, eco-responsible people, businesses, and schools who are up for the enormous challenge of helping our planet heal. She's an advocate of food sovereignty and sustainability and ethical lifestyle. She travels for purpose on purpose. Let's give a heart react for Miss Maria Tessa Ramos.
Hello. Narinig niyo ako. Bisaya ako ha. So,
Rinig po.
okay. Nice. Okay. And I'm really happy to share this time with all of you. Especially na mga youth tayo. So, mag-share screen na ako.
Yes po. Go lang po, Miss
Okay.
Tessa.
Go. Alright. Oh, okay. Kasi supposed to be 2:30. So I like to, okay. Can you see my screen now? Oh, ayan. Okay, nasa YouTube live monitor pala. Okay, I can see my screen now. Okay. Ito po ay very, very related to the first topic. Medyo nag-niche down lang tayo kasi I believe talaga. Kasi I believe that this, growing forests is the single most impactful, you know, thing that we can do to help our planet. Ang dami-dami natin pwede gawin, pero yung pag grow talaga ng trees for me, kasi it involves everything. It involves the biodiversity. So doon ko na nakuha, doon ko na live yung aking life's mission. And not just any tree, because not in an area, not all trees are created equal. So eto ngayon, I am a member and a convener of the Philippine Native Tree Enthusiast, and I am honored to share to you our advocacy, healing the planet through native trees and the sense of community. Kasi bayanihan tayo eh. So ayan. So dapat may sense of community. I mean, you cannot do this thing by yourself. So eto. And then 7 ways to conserve our indigenous trees. This is doable also for the youth. So later on, we will be sharing tools, a toolkit for you to have, for you to organize your own, para madami tayo. Okay, so at the end of this presentation, dapat alam niyo na kung status ng at least an overview. Na-mention naman kanina yung status ng Philippine forest or Philippine biodiversity natin. Pero I would like to focus more on the Philippine forest. So, and then why do we need to plant native trees? Bakit hindi Jimelina na lang kasi dyan naman siya, or mahogany na lang kasi very familiar to us. And then introduction of Philippine Native Tree Enthusiast Community. Ipupush ko talaga to kasi dito ko, how would I say it? Dito ko na-develop and dito ko na-nurture yung aking advocacy. So, and then learn some examples of our Philippine indigenous trees, because I bet, siguro, I don't know, maybe 1% of you can name 10 native trees. That's a bet, pero mostly sa lahat ng workshop, ang dami-dami ko ng workshop na in-organize, hindi talaga nila alam kung ano yung mga native trees natin. So, and then the last would be the ways to help conserve and propagate our native trees. So, native trees lang ako ngayon, ha? Okay. All right. So, the past weeks, this image had gone viral, di ba? Depende kung anong mga like nyo sa Facebook, ha, pero itong image na to has gone viral because it illustrates kung gaano kabilis ang pagkawala ng ating Philippine forests. Before pre-colonial times, talagang 94% ito. This is 99. So before pa talaga ng Spanish or pre-colonial, it was 94% ang ating Philippine forest covers. So as you can see, ng 1920s, slowly talaga, and tingnan mo naman, halos 20%, di ba? 20% yung yung decrease until I only have the 1999 data here. So naghanap ako ng iba. Although the statistics is available naman, pero hindi pa nila ginawa ng ganito ng illustration. So ito, how it started. So this is from 70% cover. Noong 1999, it was the last image sa previous slide. This is 18.3%. And then now, Hindi pa nga now ito this is 2010. So that's 6.6% na lang ng ano natin. So I will just move it here. So you can see very sparse na lang yung forest natin. Most of them nasa Sierra Madre, meron sa Samar, at saka sa Zamboanga, somewhere in also in Mindanao. So ganyan ang rate ng pag-decrease ng ating forest covers. So I think it was mentioned also earlier ano yung mga rason bakit nagkaganyan. Well, I would sum it up. It's mostly due to anthropogenic activities. Yung mga ginawa natin ng mga tao sa yung mga needs natin kasi para kasing we consider the environment as our parang they exist to supply our needs, parang ganun, nakasentro sa mga tao. Ang nasa utak natin nakasentro ang existence nila sa pag ano ng mga needs natin. So that's the reason. I mean, ang dami-dami namang pwede kong isa-isahin, pero yun yung general for me na nangyayari. So, ano ko na naman to? Teka lang. Okay. So, ito yung sabi ko, pre-colonial period, forest, they're sacred creations. Kasi, yun na nga, para sa ating mga ninuno, ano sila para silang God, because they provide our needs. So, they are sacred because they're providing the needs. Pero ngayon, parang they are slaves because they should be providing our needs. Parang iba na, di ba? So that was 92%, 92 to 94 actually percent was still covered by forest. So sa NAMRIA, noong 2003, naging ano na lang, 24% ng country's land area ang still green, still forest pa. And then much of ito na ano ko na mention ko naman kanina, yung mga remaining forests, 'di ba? Sa Mimaropa, sa Cagayan Valley, sa Corde, some in Central Luzon pa rin, at saka sa Eastern Visayas. Actually, meron din somewhere in Mindanao din. So at least kasama pa yung Eastern Visayas, diyan ako galing So at least yun yung pinupush namin. Anyway, ito pa. The Philippines is home to more than 50 dipterocarp tree species. Ito yung mga matataas, yung mga matitigas, self-pruning ones, mga lawaan, siguro may iba sa inyo alam ito. But these are the premier wood. Ito yung hari ng forest, ng dipterocarp tree species. And 25 cannot be found elsewhere. Endemic talaga siya, cannot be found elsewhere on the earth, but dito lang. Okay, so the Mimaropa region, although ang daming actually projects dito ang daming projects ng DENR dito kasi nga andun ang Palawan. Pero siya yung pinaka-grabe na deforestation, rate ng deforestation in recent years. Bakit kaya? So anyway, I think you would know the reason for that. Pero ang pangatlo, sa Duterte government excluded reforestation efforts among its commitments. Kasi may commitment naman tayo, di ba, sa 2016 Paris Agreement na i-maintain yung ng carbon natin. Pero ang dami-daming efforts na pwede mong sabihin, eto gawin namin to. Siguro we would lessen the use of fossil fuels. Siguro we will invest more on solar energy, parang ganon. But they left out. They left out na ang reforestation natin kasama doon. So there wasn't much how would I say, efforts para sa reforestation natin. So we have the highest deforestation rate in the world according to a ESSC, so Environmental Science of Social Change. Ito yung nagmamap out sa environmental anthropology na mga data. So tayo daw yung highest deforestation rate in the world. Akala ko nga Indonesia, 'di ba? Kasi nag-viral 'yon, pero tayo pala. We are at the top for the wrong reasons. Pero ito pa din, we are the 25th most plant-rich country in the world. So very diverse tayo, very biodiverse tayo. And also we are part of the 17 na mentioned dito kanina. 17 mega diverse countries in the world also. And we have over 9,480 plants. And endemic, yung almost half nito. Endemic, that means it can only be found here. Also. And then the Philippines is also the second most threatened forest hotspot. So, yan. Some are, we can celebrate, some we can lament. But let's not stop at the statistics, kasi madami naman tayong pwedeng gawin. And for me, as I mentioned very early on, growing native trees is the single most impactful and doable act each of us can do to conserve our Philippine forest. I don't know, anong tawag? Merong meme dyan, diba? Change my mind or something. Pero parang bet ba? Pero for me, ito yon. Kaya ako dati gusto ko yung mga nag-attend ako ng mga convention, kahit saan parang ganito. But I saw the urgency that there has something to be done with how our planet, and especially our Philippine forest, has been dwindling. So yan, I started dati because I led an NGO before, a team. Dati kasi sila mga spiritual religious funded. So mostly they are focusing on mga self-development. Then ako kasi mas nagpo-focus ako sa mga social environmental issues. So I did that. Wala akong makuha na mga hindi ko pa alam kung saan kukuha ng mga seedlings that time. So what I did, because I know some of our natives, very very young pa ako, I know already, Nanara, Mulave, at least yun lang kasi tinuturod sa lola ko yan. Okay, madami kaming Mulave sa bukid. So I collected wildlings, tapos pinatutubo ko siya, tapos pag ready na, then I would use that for my own activity. So I started like that. And later on I invested na talaga into seeds. Pero I will talk more about that later. So kaya ko ito ginawa kasi ito yung kaya ko with my own hands. Kaya ko, and then very impactful. So Philippine native tree facts din tayo. So we have over 3,600 Philippine native trees. 75% are threatened. So you can imagine, 75% noon are threatened. And kanina sinabi ko baka nga walang isa sa mga students, or sana naman meron na makasumpo na alam nila na these are Philippine native trees. So Philippine gitter, kasi ito yung sinabi ko, yung mga hari ng rainforest. We have 56, and then madami pa dito endemic dyan. And then Philippine ironwood, ito yung ironwood na hindi na-change. So talagang they are the hardest. Our Philippine mangkuno is the hardest wood in the world. So hindi na siya pwede, yung diamond cutter na ang ginagamit, and very very heavy. And then the Philippine ebony, madami pa rin to. Philippine ebony, yun yung mga blackwood. Ito yung mga mabolo, na ang ganda-gandang gawing mga furniture. So madami pa yan. Zizigum family, Philippine sanders, madami. Siguro this is like a jargon to all of you. Pero this is the start of you knowing these treasures. So, but we cannot conserve and protect what we don't know. So, hindi natin alam kung ito. Kaya nga, yung mga kasamahan namin, I was cleaning the farm, tapos naputol ko yung whatever shrub nandun. And then very valuable pala yun. Extinct na pala yun or something like that. So, hindi natin alam. So these are 10 reasons why we need to plant native trees. So ito yung ginagamit namin ni Monix sa mga awareness campaign namin sa Philippine Native Trees Enthusiasts. So ginamit din namin native trees din yan. Native tree. Okay, so ayan. So native is naturally occurring. Of course, dito lang endemic nga yung iba. And then they're beautiful for our landscape. For pala yan. And then adaptable. Adaptable, kahit ano man, diba tayo, pag mayroon namang mga foreigners tayo na mga kaibigan, hindi sila kumakain ng, maybe, sumasakit yung tiyan nila pag kumakain sila ng balot. Kasi nga, hindi adaptable sa kanila. Same goes with our natives, with our Philippine native trees, kasi they have the symbiosis, they have that special connection already with the soil. At saka sa lahat ng mga fungi, lahat ng mga iba pang organisms, meron na sila nun. So they're adaptable. So tolerant to adverse weather conditions, of course, kasi taga dito sila. Hindi na tayo para sa, I would like to compare it sa tao kasi. Yung mga Pinoy, kahit, let's say yung mga Badyaw. Oh, okay. Let's say yung mga Badyaw, kahit hindi na sila rarely they get sick. Pasensya na kasi minsan hindi ako marunong magtagalog. But anyway, rarely they get sick because they are immune to it. So, ito, madami, very interestingly, yung mga most, let's say, the most resilient trees are actually found in the typhoon-prone areas. Yeah, nakakabilib. So the strongest ones are found sa mga typhoon-prone areas. You can imagine how wise nature is. So incredible. They're incredible in enhancing our biodiversity kasi sabi ko nga, not only that they are like probably a source of our food, parang ganon, which is the V also valuable, pero ito din yung source ng food ng ibang mga animals, yung mga bees, they gather nectar from these plants, from these trees, flowering ones. So even hindi ko na kasi ma-expound ito, but even yung mga apiculturists, yung mga bee keepers, they are, how would I say, they are encouraging na native trees talaga yung natin. So valuable, endemic, also endemic, they're all found here. Okay, and the treatment, they're a source of medicine also. I don't like to call it alternative medicine because for me it's the primary medicine. Okay, so rich part of the culture and heritage of Filipinos, even some names of our mga towns are from trees like Kalumpit, like Iloilo, ang dami niyan, Anini, mga Mabolo from Cebu. Those are from our native trees. And then effective in restoring biodiversity in watersheds, and then incredible in enhancing a biodiversity. But let me, okay, ito yung love story ko ng, siguro later na to, pero this is tuog. This is one of our redwoods. It's a giant, it's an emergent, and this is one of the most resilient, typhoon resilient trees we have. Endemic din ito. And mostly they're found here in Eastern Visayas na kami yung parang mistress of hazard na weather. So, ito yung tuog. And then, okay, we have successfully propagated, ano siya hindi siya namumulaklak every year. Namumulaklak yun siya pag sobrang stress siya. Sana all, di ba? Namumulaklak, gumaganda pag mag-stress. But, ito siya, when Odette came, part of me talaga nangiiyak-iyak kasi yun na nga, the devastation of my place here. Pero part of me also was a bit happy because I know the tuogs in our place would bloom. And soon, nag-bloom talaga siya. So what I did, I collected like lahat, halos, I collected about 18 sacks or more of the tuog seeds. At pinadala ko yan. Pinadala ko all over the Philippines. I think I sent over 96 packages of the tuog seeds just for this beautiful, strong tree to be propagated all over the Philippines. So, yan yung love story ko with tuog. So, how well do you know the Philippine natives? Sino ba dito ang alam? May ano to, ang mga Filipinos. You see, ang gaganda, hindi lang pala Jumelina, hindi lang pala mahogany, di ba? Mostly kasi pag anong tree na alam mo? So they would say, ipil-ipil, Jumelina, mahogany, yun talaga. Pero tingnan mo, ang dami-dami. This is just, imagine, this is 3,600. So, and ito lang yung ma-manage ko dito. So, this one is Sadita, Katmon, ito Malabulak. Ito, of course, alam natin yung Nara, di ba? Okay. And then, ito yung Gao, ito yung Tuog. Okay. And then, oh my God. Balik. Okay. And then, Banaba. So, ito, kulang talaga yung time natin to discuss all of this. But there are native trees na, na perfect for a certain, how would I say this, a need. For example, ito, windbreak, ito, pwede mo windbreak nga. So, usually, strong yung root system nito. So, ayan, don't worry because at the end of this, webinar, we will be sending a toolkit sa inyo. You can use this IEC, itong mga materials na to, you can use this when you want to re-echo, when you want to, when teachers, I assume na may mga teachers dito, diba? If you want to do it on your science classes or kahit ano pa, feel free to use it. I will be sending the link for you to access it freely. So, ito yung mga windbreak trees, meron tayong mga fast-growing trees, so kung gusto niyo like 3 years may konting shade na kayo, ito. And then ito yung para sa mga watershed conservation natin. Ito yung mga tibig, ito yung mga pigs. You know that we have native pigs. And ito yung mga keystone species. Ito yung mga pinakakailangan sa ating biodiversity. So, madami yan. Ito pang fire resistant, kulang na kulang yung time ko, diba? So, mga fire resistant, you would want to have this kung meron kayong farm. Soon, meron kayong farm. And then, ito yung mga sa urban areas. Madaming balitbitan dyan sa UPLB, diba? Nagpapadala sila sa akin ng mga balitbitan seeds galing ng UPLB. Pero yan, ang dami, may bane. So we are a community of advocates. So I would like to shamelessly plug our community. We are called Philippine Native Tree Enthusiasts. Naglaon, parang ano na hindi na siya enthusiast para na siya talagang, I mean, advocate, conservationist, I would say. Pero ito kasi all walks of life. So we are 20K strong online community. We are composed of all walks of life na all over the Philippines, some are abroad. And our mission is to repopularize, conserve, and propagate native trees to restore our country's biodiversity. Na-mention ninyo kanina na DRM din kayo, di ba? Ngayon, the nature-based DRM solutions are being pushed. And ito yon kasama ang mga native trees natin. Because we realize that, especially dito sa amin, like we have typhoon like every year, alam na namin kung ano yung mga typhoon resilient na trees talaga. So it's part of it, and we should be educating our LGUs more. So, ito, ang ginagawa namin, we share information, seeds, seedlings, ways of propagation. Pag isang seed, hindi mo alam paano pa ito pinapapropagate kasi iba-iba ang needs set. So we share, we ID, pag may mga newbie na hindi nila alam kung ano to, we help them ID. We also embark on personal as well as community reforestation project. I have my own nursery, and I also have my own farm, like a family farm in which I rainforestation yung concept na ginawa. It's a mixture of fruit bearing and the native trees. So we donate seedlings to local eco initiatives. We offer awareness workshops, seminars, and other related info sa conservation. And then also we hunt critically endangered species, yung mga hindi pa nakikita, para we can help it propagate and conserve. So, and then we also help push for local ordinance. May mga kasi tayo, may mga lawyer din tayo sa community natin that would help in pushing the envelope sa mga local laws. So, and then we also published books. May mga publisher kami dito, editors kami. In fact, we have, may alay na book na newly na released. So, if ever you can be part of our group. So we adopt also watersheds. I'm adopting 2 watersheds for the reforestation initiative, and then establish also school arboretum. May isa kaming in Luzon na I think 6 schools na yung napaano niya ng school arboretum para magiging parang learning centered, learning site na din sa mga natives. And then we also organize like afforestation sa mga urban areas. So sabi na hindi pa nakialam ang youth sa native tree conservation, hindi dahil sa indifference is strong, but hindi pa kasi nakialam dahil the information is weak. Of course hindi niyo alam, 'di ba? So ito yung reason bakit nandito ako. So here I have started since 2004, pero ito yung mga comparative pictures sa mga ginawa namin. So from three, ito yung sa mga coastal areas na to. So I have in 2014, and then meron sa 2018 na ang laki-laki na. Here are the things also that we did. I also taught our youth here para pag-identify, how to identify them, and then we collect the wildlings like how I started. And then this one we created like a little nursery this is for the LGBTQ community dito may nursery para in 3-4 months they can outplant it. So yan. So madami na din ito yung school arboretum ko din dito. And then also this is the watershed, blurry siya. The watershed conservation initiative that I recently started. This is the first one. May isa pa. So I partnered with fraternities dito para sila yung mag-maintain. So every week every week or two, they can plant maybe 5 or something. We started with 50, and then basta tuloy-tuloy lang. So ito pa. So how can the youth be part of this massive eco-bayanihan to save our native trees? I will give you nine ways. Of course, you cannot promote, you cannot care for someone or for something that you don't know. So know our native trees. Of course, know our native trees. And the best way for you to do that is to be part of our community. Okay, hala, time's up na daw. Wrap up na daw. Raise awareness. Teka. So, balik ako. Okay. Your network can support you, volunteer to local initiatives, and push for reinforcement of existing laws. Kasi madami na yan. Na-mention na yan kanina. So, let's just towards reinforcement. Let's just push for reinforcement and then be a member of our our community. So after this, I will be sending a link where I would have a folder of all the IEC that I presented, and also ways and also ano pa. Just tell me what you need para you can start with your own initiatives. So here is our Q1. Here is our QR code for Philippine Native Tree enthusiasts. And I would like to ask you kung ano yung gusto ninyo, ano ang kailangan ninyo to start your advocacy in Philippine Native Tree conservation or any eco conservation, and then I help you. I'm also a community organizer. Probably I can share some wisdom. So ayan. So thank you so much for heading the call, and then the Earth and the Philippine forests need you, young advocates. So we want you in this advocacy. We need you here in this advocacy. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Ms. Taza. I hope you were
Yes.
encouraged, and sa participants natin, if you need more information later, again, we will send you the toolkit. And
Yes.
kung meron pa kayong other questions, mafa-follow natin ang Philippine Native Tree Enthusiast.
Yes. Para maging 30,000 na kami. Okay.
Tama yan. Sige po. So to our participants in the Zoom and YouTube Live, please send in your questions and our guest speakers will answer them later during the Q&A session. And since we have had 2 presentations already, let us pause and breathe so we can better process and reflect. We will have a 5-minute break to go to the bathroom, drink water, eat a snack, look away from the screen, or walk around. So we'll see you right after that. So it's 3:14 right now, so let's be back here at 3:19. Thank you. welcome back. Check natin kung nakabalik na nga talaga kayo. Can you give me the celebratory reacts or heart reacts? Kung ano yung mas madali for you guys? Okay, let's wait na most of us would react already. Bago tayo magsimula, I can see your reactions. Yan. Salamat po sa mga nakabalik na. At para sa mga paupo pa lang, okay na lang din na magsimula na tayo habang pa-settle down kayo. Okay, let's continue with our next session. Kasi I'm sure marami pa tayong matututunan sa ating third presenter. It is an honor to introduce our final speaker from the Zoological Society of London. Dr. Georgine Primavera is an internationally recognized mangrove scientist and currently the Chief Mangrove Scientific Advisor of the Zoological Society of London. Her degrees are zoology and marine science. Her scientific contributions include studies on aquaculture of marine shrimp with the CIFDEC Aquaculture Department, science-based conservation of mangroves, and beach forest identification and propagation. She has more than 150 scientific papers, reviews, manuals, books, and other publications, and is the lead author of the 5 ZSL manuals on mangrove rehabilitation. So that manual is actually on mangrove rehabilitation, pond mangrove reversion, and beach forest propagation. She has given more than 350 lectures and presentations in national and international conferences, seminars, workshops, and others, including 35 keynote and commencement addresses, and around 35 webinars. Napakarami na talaga nito. So nakaka-excite marinig ang kanyang discussion. She was also awarded with a PhD in Science Honoris Causa by Stockholm University. She was elected to the Swedish Royal Academy on Agriculture and Forestry, Royal Belgian Academy for Overseas Sciences, Phi Kappa Phi, and other honor societies. She was named Scientist Emerita of SEAFDEC/AQD, one of 30 Time Magazine Heroes of the Environment, and 50 DOST Men and Women of Science in 2008, and the University of the Philippines Distinguished Alumni Awardee in Environmental Conservation in 2009. She is also a member of the Philippine National Academy of Science and Technology and a Pew Fellow in Marine Conservation. Let us all welcome with a warm round of clap react Dr. Georgine Primavera for her presentation.
Thank you for that kind introduction. May I share my screen now?
Yes, well, go for Dr. Jean.
Okay. Pwede yung aso ipastop. Okay. In the introduction, it was mentioned na ang dami kong papers, ang dami kong conferences. Kasi matanda na ako, no, mga students. When I was at UP Diliman, wala pang student number. Can you imagine? I was there in the 1960s. So you can imagine. So it's only, it's not surprising, no, na ang dami ko ng mga conferences, etc. And for the topic, I could have talked about mangroves kasi yun ang ginagawa namin. You see, ang background photo ko, mangroves. Or maybe yung native trees. Actually, I just came from an activity of that group. Pareho kami ni Tessa, we belong to the native tree enthusiasts. Now we had an activity sa Batangas the other day, mga 30 of us. But why did I choose to speak on plastics? Okay, let me... I cannot find the yun, okay. Maybe I will minimize this thing. So, kasi plastics first came into public awareness in the 1950s. No, I was just a child growing up in Mindanao. And then, wow, ano ito, no? Napakaganda, napakagaling, hindi nasisira yung plastics. And in the rural areas, we would keep those plastics na i-recycle namin, tinatago namin, no? Kasi talagang hindi nasisira, indestructible compared to yung paper, packages, or cellophane. Ayun. That was in the 1950s. Pero over the years, 2000, 2020, over the decades, hindi na siya blessing ang plastics. Naging blight na siya, no? From blessing to blight. So that's the reason I chose to focus on plastics. So first, this is a scientific paper, lead authored by Jambeck, which talks about plastic waste inputs galing sa land to the sea. Okay? And yung dark areas, maraming plastics yan. Tayo medyo in between. Philippines is here, no? Not so dark, pero a medium dark. But actually, the more important thing, well, first we look at the generation of wastes, no? As measured in kilograms per person day. Philippines, mahina lang, 0.5 kilograms lang per person per day. Compared to US, if you look down, 2.6 kilograms per person per day. Ang laki ng production ng wastes ng US compared to us. But that is not the point. The point is the management of the wastes. So ito naman, this column shows percent of total mismanaged plastic waste. And it shows almost 6% of our wastes, our plastic wastes, are mismanaged. Whereas the US, less than 1% ang mismanaged of waste. Okay, so someone has some background noise, Secretariat, please. Okay, so if this came out, no, sa media, top 10 rivers, I have to move this again, I cannot see the contributing to global plastic problems. And out of 10, we have seven of those top 10 rivers are in the Philippines. Wow. Can you believe that? The number one, of course, is Pasig, contributing 6.4% of total plastic pollution in the globe, in the global ocean. So it shows na grabe talaga ang plastic problem in the country. So, what are the different kinds of wastes? First, we have polyethylene, no, yung single-use plastic bags, plastic bottles, and then we have polystyrene, yung foam, yung mga ano ba, styrofoam, they call it, no, yung take-out food, and then you have polyurethane, yung foam mattresses that maybe most of us sleep on. I don't think anybody has Abaca mattresses anymore, no? And finally, we have PVC or polyvinyl chloride, yung pipes used all over in our homes. So these are all plastics, meaning to say they are forever, no? They will take long, very long to disappear. How long? No, here I cannot see again my ano kasi this black thing. Okay. How long? Yung mga bananas, paper, cotton, cigarette butts, from weeks to years. Okay. But once you get into the plastic cups, rubber sole, containers, aluminum cans, you go from 50 to centuries, 500 years, 600 years. Ito pang plastic bag here, 1,000 years. Glass, of course, is not a plastic product, no, but it will biodegrade, but in 1 to 2 million years. So By the way, many of my materials come from the internet. Like this one, how long to decompose? Toilet, 1 month. Plastic bags, 20 years. Cigarettes, 10 years. Cardboard, 2 months. Fish hooks, 600 years. Plastic spoons, yung tinatapon ba? All of us, I will not say all of you, all of us, when we go to fast food, Jollibee, ano pa yung mga, McDo, they're all plastic spoons and forks, cutlery. Yan, it will take them up to 1,000 years to decompose. Drinks cans, 200 years. Diapers, plastic diapers, 450 years. Wow, that's almost 5 centuries. And then somebody, this was before the campaign, actually so many years ago, sabi dito, never daw some people. Anyway, that was just trying to be light. If you go to the average sari-sari store, it's all plastic. This is very typical, no? Sachets, these are plasticized containers. They will not degrade. Single-use bottles, all of these things. And you will see them in the basura, no? Basura everywhere. They're mostly plastics along the beach. And eventually into the oceans. Here, from the beach to the oceans. Yan. These are all from the internet. You see debris floating on the surface of the oceans, so that there is what's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's a vortex, no? Because of vortex, there are high concentrations of plastics, chemical sludge, debris trapped in the gyre. Those of you who have studied physical oceanography or know something about the physics of the oceans, you know what a gyre is, or a vortex. And the size is mostly of small plastic particles just below the surface. So it is almost impossible to detect by aircraft. But these estimates were maybe 10 years ago. Estimates of up to 1.5 billion hectares of this plastic garbage patch, which would be 8% of the Pacific Ocean. That's almost 1/10 of the Pacific Ocean has a garbage patch composed mostly of plastics. And the mass is estimated 100 million tons. And the size from fishing nets to micro pellets. Later we'll see what micro pellets are. And the photodegraded plastic disintegrates into smaller pieces as polymer to molecular level, small enough to be ingested by aquatic organisms, thereby entering the food chain. This one I'd like to pause a little bit here because you will see some plastic bags from grocery shops and they say oxo-degradable. So that's only up to a certain level. Degrades into small pieces, maybe pieces that cannot be seen by the eye, but they're still there. They remain as polymers at the molecular level, no? So they're there. Just because they have disintegrated to small pieces. But I think this is not truth in advertising, no? They say oxo-degradable or environment friendly. But actually, if you look at the chemistry, if the polymers are still there, they will enter the food chain. And this is what is really problematic and dangerous. When we have plastics in our food chain and in our bodies, where will they end up? Know what part of our bodies, our nervous systems, our brains, our nerves, our muscles, our organs. So here is the microscopic level now. By the way, here's the gyre. No, that's the Americas, and here's Asia, and that's the North Pacific gyre. So some plastics leach toxic chemicals, the bisphenols. Those of you who have taken chemistry, you will know this. The debris can absorb organic pollutants like DDT, PCBs, and they are eaten by jellyfish, which are eaten by larger fish, which are consumed by us humans, including the toxic chemicals. That's the microscopic level. It goes up the food chain. At the macroscopic level, this is macroscopic. You don't need a microscope to see it, no? So the physical size of the plastic kills the birds, turtles, etc. because the animals cannot break down the plastic. Yun nga, we say plastic is not biodegradable, no? So it's not the toxin, it's not a chemical effect that kills the animals. It's the physical effect, the size. So at the microscopic level, it's the chemical effect. So you can hopefully differentiate the two, but they're equally problematic. Huh? So macroscopic level, for example, one gray whale, 50 gallons of undigested algae, but also plastic bags, towels, surgical gloves, duct tape, and so on, plastics. Here you can see in these images. And sea turtles, when they mistake, there's colorful plastic, so they feed on those. They take their food. They get stuck in the digestive tract with gas buildup, no? Kasi plastic siya. And with gas in their guts, they will float. The turtles cannot sink. Now, they have to sink to the bottom to feed. That's where their feeding areas are. But if they float and cannot sink, then they cannot feed and they starve to death. Okay? So it's really the physics, the physical size of macroplastic that kills. So here naman is an albatross bird on Midway Island. Many of them dying because if you look at their guts, you see all these lighters and toothbrushes and kung ano pa. And these are fed to them by their parents, no? Kasi they are regurgitated. And it shows that Midway Island is in the middle of the Pacific. So ang food doon, all the currents, whatever the currents bring, no? Na garbage yun. So this is what you see in the middle of the ocean. Now we still continue with the microplastics. Here we have the microbeads. They are less than 5 millimeters long. That's the definition of a microplastic. It's less than 5 millimeters long. Okay, you know, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters, and 5 millimeters is less than is 1/2 centimeter. So a microplastic is less than 5 millimeters. Okay. So here, these are the microplastics. And this is what I meant, no? Oxo-degradable. But how about the molecular level, the polymer level? Do the plastics disappear? No, they don't. So this one is really false advertising. So here are the microplastics. They can leach the contaminants, or the particles themselves can attract, no, contaminants, absorb to them. So these two mechanisms, they cause problems. So primary microplastics enter the oceans as small particles, no, these less than 5 millimeters. The sources are in the household synthetic textiles and personal care products. Industrial products like car tires, no, that are made of synthetic rubber, plastic pellets, and road markings. So in Asia, most of it comes from washing of synthetic textiles. You know, synthetic textiles, no, yung may nylon component, you know them naman, may nylon kasi kung mainit, mainit din siya. Compared to pure cotton clothing. Whereas in the Americas and Europe, it is tire abrasion. Doon sa road, where the rubber meets the road, and yung nag-a-abrade siya, abrasion, and the plastic components leach off to the road, and with the rains, they go down to the ocean. So these are the main sources of microplastics. Actually, yung microbeads sa personal care products, they were banned. I think in the US or Canada, they were banned from women's, beauty products, no more microbeads. But maliit lang, no? Ang microbeads is just a very small proportion. I think it says here, only 2% of primary microplastics are contributed by microbeads in cosmetics. So solutions would include design. So synthetic clothes should be designed so that the shedding of fibers is minimized. No? Because if they don't shed fibers, then there's no pollution. Also, change consumer behavior for consumers to choose natural fabrics versus synthetic. But this is a matter of economics kasi yung natural fabrics are very expensive, di ba? Compared to synthetic ones, very cheap synthetic textiles. And finally, well, in North America, which is where they're supposed to have effective waste management, the bigger source of marine pollution in plastics is the microplastics, not the macroplastics. So finally, plastic pollution harms marine wildlife, accumulates in food webs with consequences for us humans because we're at the end of those food webs, no? We feed on fish. So now we come to what can we do? Segregate, recycle, reuse, but for me, it should be low priority. Replace, that is the One Less campaign of my NGO, that's the Zoological Society of London. Reduce plastic content and regulate. Here we come now to laws, taxes, and so on. So this here we have laws, no? Because of the Solid Waste Management Act, you see this everywhere. Biodegradable, non-biodegradable, recyclable. Even in airports, you see this. But when you come to the rural areas, wala na, no? Basta, nakatapo na lang. Now, the problem here is law enforcement. You have the laws, but they are not enforced. So those of you, young students, when you become your kagawads in your barangay, in your towns, sana naman you can tutok. You look at the laws that you have, especially environment laws, and see to it na meron talagang enforcement. Segregate. Okay, here, this is from my own home. Every room we have a bag for plastics. Kasi we cannot avoid, no? You cannot buy things in the groceries or the supermarket without plastics. So, nandiyan talaga yung plastic. So, every room we have plastics and we separate, we segregate. So, this one would be the biodegradables, paper. This would be the plastics. And the plastics all go to a big plastic container that is picked up by the, we have a community collection system. But of course, where they throw it, yun naman, that's a problem. But anyway, for our home and our yard, walang plastics, no? We are plastic free. We are all organic, as you can see in our this is our compost pit, and we can get fertilizer there. And our compost pit again, you see here the biodegradables, all the rotten mangoes and so on, where we have mushrooms growing. But walang plastics yan, ha? And these are the mushrooms that we have collected from our compost pit. And masarap siya, okay? So for those of you who have space in your backyard for compost pits, please try to apply this segregation so that only organic matter goes into your compost, and then you can maybe harvest these nice mushrooms. And also, I mentioned ito ni Tessa, no? Native trees. Ako kasi I have many seeds. I'm a PNTE member. I have many seeds in my home. Minsan the seeds that I think are no longer viable, I throw them into the compost. Tapos all of a sudden, they germinate yan. So the compost also even acts as a seedling germinator. So, ito naman, live with less plastic. Yung cutlery, yung plastic cups, bring your spoon siguro to the fast foods. Bring your cups so they will not have to give you plastics that will be thrown away. Bring your own water bottle, stainless steel, reusable shopping bags. Use glass jars. These glass jars, they last what, 1 million years, no? Compared to the plastics. Forget fast food and skip plastic produced bags. Bring your own paper bags. Still some more of this. Bring your own bag, reusable bottle, your own cup, compostable bags. No to plastic cutlery. Pack your lunch. Slow down and dine in. Ito is the same as no fast food. Naku, mga young people, kayo pa naman ang number one na customers nitong fast food. So what we are saying here is slow down. Go for slow food, no? Catch your life or something like that. And then again, store leftovers in glass jars. The same here, glass jars. And use bio bags instead of plastic bags. And here, 50% of the world's plastic goes into items used only once. So that's what you call SUP, single-use plastics, SUPs. And you ditch them. Number one, coffee cups. Ayan, sino yung nag-ano dyan ng mga coffee na, ano ba yung coffee na yun? Straws. Number two, of course, the bottles and the bags. These are the 4 SUPs that if you can, young people, you can do it. You bring your own cup, you bring your own bottle. You don't need plastic straws and especially plastic bags. So here, we have passing before and nung nag-clean up na siya, pwede naman. Again, maybe young people, you can have projects like this, doable projects, small scale lang. No? Next is recycle, reuse. Although as I said, I don't emphasize this too much. But anyway, when you have tires, no, you can recycle them like here, or into furniture, or into garbage, into plant containers, yung mga plantitos and plantitas. These are all plastics. And especially this one, all the plastic bottles, ginawang parang decoration. No? Even here, these are houses made of plastics. This, I think, was in India. Plastic, and then you have some kind of mud. Even a boat, a raft made of plastic bottles. And of course, yung aluminum cans, naku, yung young people, especially the males, no, you are familiar with this. If you can try to avoid this while you are young, not too much. Later, no, in your life, you can, sample this. But anyway, these are, again, non-biodegradable, and they can be recycled into these tags and these, ano ba ito? Candle holders. So projects for your groups, if you have groups there. Number one, SUP. This was 10 years ago, 60,000 every 5 seconds. By now, siguro 100,000 plastic bags every 5 seconds. 2 million plastic bottles, siguro ngayon 3 million na every 5 minutes. And this is from the internet, the 10 worst plastic polluters. Your favorites, again, soft drinks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, Unilever. These are shampoos. Ito, I'm not very familiar with Mondelez. Mars, I'm not very familiar. I think this is mga candies. P&G, Procter & Gamble, mga sachets. Of course, Philip Morris is cigarettes. Colgate, yeah, everybody uses Colgate, no, toothpaste. So yan, be aware of this when you buy, because of course you are consumers, no? You buy products to be used. And here again, I'm trying to remove this black bar. I cannot read what's on the screen. 6 reasons to refuse single-use plastics. Most plastics do not biodegrade. We already saw that. And this one especially. Only 9% of the world's plastic waste has been recycled. That's why I said I do not emphasize recycle and reuse, because that recycling, if you put together all the plastics in the world, that's less than 10%. 90% of it still goes to the environment. So try to avoid plastics talaga. Don't say, pwede naman i-recycle. Ganun. And then these bags can block waterways, causing floods. Plastic bags are often ingested by turtles. We saw that. They can clog sewers and the toxic chemicals during the manufacture of plastic transfer. So this is now my NGO, ZSL, one less campaign. It means one less. If you do not buy a plastic bottle, that is one less plastic bottle going into the ocean. So experts estimate between 5 and 14 million tons of plastic currently enter the ocean, over 150 million tons in the ocean today, and by 2050, 1 ton of plastic for every 3 tons of fish. So ang daming plastic, no? And by 2050, plastic in the ocean may outweigh the fish. Yun talaga. These are computations based on present numbers. By this, siguro 2050, kaming mga 70s, this is not our problem. But you, mga NSTP, you're still in your 20s, 30s, you will have this problem for decades to come. So you better think about it. And another poster, which I like, start a sea of change. I don't know, break free from plastic. Try to see if you can. Because here's a whale that's full of plastic. And this is a paper, 2018. Plastic waste was associated with disease on coral reefs. So it's already there, no? Lower animals like coral reefs. Disease caused by plastic. How much more kita, no? Tayo. When the plastic goes up the food chain, from the small plankton to the small fish to the bigger fish to us, what happens to us? Actually, the research is ongoing, but I had no time to look this up, no? But if you are really interested on the effect of microplastics on human beings, there's ongoing research. Effect on the nervous system, effect on circulatory system, and I don't think it looks good. So 11 billion items of plastic lodged in coral reefs, 124,000 reef-building corals assessed, and almost 90% of those were smothered in plastic and threatened by disease. Only 4% in plastic-free corals. Wow! Imagine in the world, only 4% corals are free of plastic. So this is the same futuristic scenario that at a rate of 1 to 2 ratio of plastic to plankton, if left unchecked, the plastic will outweigh the fish by 2050. Again, as I said, this is not our problem. Those of us who are, in the last stages of our life, it is your problem, students, no? So think about this. These are, these problems are what should occupy your mind. I think, especially yung mga high school, mga puro mga artista, especially high school students, mga artista, mga kung ano-anong mga, very lightweight things. Walang environmental concern, ganyan. Dapat ito ang tinuturo sa no? And, okay. The recent study showed that 9 in 10 seabirds have plastic pieces in their guts. So seabirds, it's everywhere. Plastics are everywhere. And this one, I enclosed this in red, no? Chemicals from plastic also leach into the water. Even humans who eat seafood ingest 11,000 pieces of microplastic each year. Please remember, because tayo, we eat a lot of seafood, no? We are, a maritime country. The sea is surrounding us and we eat a lot of fish from the sea. So we ingest, sabihin mo na lang 1,000, at least 1,000 pieces of microplastic each year. What does that do to our bodies? So if I were you, I don't worry na. I think siguro 10 years na lang that those plastics will harm my body. Maybe not so much, but you still have, let's say, 50 years of your life. You better start reading up, no? Anong epekto ng mga 11,000 microplastics each year that you ingest. So long as you, consume marine fish and other marine products. So we should replace, reduce instead of recycle. And what is that? Replace. Madali lang, no? No more single-use plastics. You can have steel, hard plastics. Refillable. And also, there should be more of this, no? Yung refilling stations. So you don't need to buy a single-use plastic. Even in hotels, should have more of this. This should actually be legislated so that people will be forced to bring their own bottles and then they refill in the stations. Like here. This one is in the UK. In the UK, they're very fancy dispensers. This is supported by the mayor of London. So this is really public, no? Government supported. A long time ago, maybe your lolos and lolas can remember, we used to have dispensers, refillable, yung banga, no? Clay containers. But when water became bought and sold, this all disappeared. You hardly see this in homes now. But I think this is a very good way of avoiding plastic bottles. This one is a dispenser in my small market here in Iloilo. There. So instead of plastic bottles, you bring your own container and you put 5 pesos and then you get 1 bottle. Replace plastic sachets with bars. So you don't have the sachets. Or you use soap with paper, no? Which is biodegradable, but not with plastic. This is plastic. And even this, some people say, it's better to have this hand wash. But actually, the bottle of the hand wash is, again, plastic. It's a single-use plastic product. Even something as, ordinary as Q-tips for your ears. You know naman, you have eyes, no? So you read the small print. Kasi merong paper stems and merong plastic stems. And go for the paper stems. Because these plastic stems will last forever and ever in your compost pit. Again, more sachets here, sachets, all sachets. Go for less sachets, but still when the bottle is used up, you have a plastic bottle. So maybe look for a glass bottle. And the diapers now are all plastic. It's not just the babies, no? It's especially the senior citizens. They're all plastic diapers now. When I had my babies, and I had 4 of them, we all used bird's eye or katsa. No, these are all cotton, not plastic, and we would wash them. We would wash them and soap them and recycle them. Now you just buy and throw. Even for the ladies, no, sanitary napkins in our time, we would use made of cloth. We would sew them and wash them and recycle. Now napkins are all plastic. Use and throw. It's the environment that pays for that, actually, for your comfort. You say, this is so convenient, no? Yung cloth napkins, you have to wash and kung ano pa, whereas you buy sanitary napkins in the groceries, the plastic, very comfortable use, and you throw. Yes, comfortable, but at the expense of the environment. And so, even itong world records na ito, some of you, without thinking, but these are balloons, and what goes up must come down. So actually, don't release helium balloons. And this is what these things are. They go up, they look very nice without thinking, but they will have to come down. So young people, kayo ang very fond of this. This is very popular with events organized by young people. Please think twice, because that will all go to the ocean, no? Along with fishing gears, plastic bags, bottle tops, and so on. And in Sipalay, instead they had an annual kite festival. to promote the reduction of plastic waste. Yun, that was an award-winning tourism event because supposed to be one question posed to us, how can we have more environmental protection in tourism? And this is one very good example. Yeah. I think we're into the last few slides. Food packaging. Ito yung traditional, no? Lukay, this is, ano ba? Nipa or palm leaflets. These are lily leaflets and banana leaves instead of the plastics. Plastics for all the sachets and the tablets. So, when you go for groceries, use your cloth bags or bayong. Don't get the plastics of the grocery store. Buy glass items in glass jars instead of plastic. Segregate. Backyard compost. And this is where we have regulate taxation. I think that will come a bit later. Again, plastic straws. My province, Iloilo City, now has banned plastic straws, I think for 4 years now, since 2018. And every time I go to a public place, when I see a straw, I tell the staff or even up to the manager na, are you not aware of this provincial ordinance na no more plastic straws? And then they say, either they're not aware and then they will inform, or they will say, kasi may ano pa kami, marami pa kaming stocks. So, inuubos na lang. But, you know, the ordinance was in place 2018 hanggang since 2018, may stocks pa kayo. So, it's the enforcement of the ordinance. If there's no enforcement, then they will, these eating establishments or hotels, they will continue with ano. So, here you have a metal straw, okay yan. A paper straw, another metal straw. Metal straws, but they are quite expensive. Actually, paper straws like this, no? When I was young, walang plastic straw. We had paper straws. Paper na may ano, wax coated yun. Okay yun. Ha? Here is a plastic straw. Here is a metal straw. There are also bamboo straws and I don't know what else, but I don't know how ano they are, no? How practical they are. I think paper straw, we should go back to paper straws. And these should be regulated by local governments. Kasi we have here in the groceries, paper straws. Ito naman ang plastic straw, natural bamboo straw, and even wheat straws. There are wheat straws, no? So here we have an eatery, no more straws. In compliance to save the turtles. Ayan, okay yan. Here, paper straws na naman. These are paper straws. So when you go to your, first find out if meron bang ano, ban on plastic straws. Kung wala, then you write your ano, your councilors. Now you should tell them that in Iloilo City, the province does not allow plastic straws. Then when a ban is in place, look at the compliance. So, toothbrushes. Wow, grabe, no? Toothbrushes. You change your toothbrush at least twice a year. Can you imagine? All these toothbrushes, you know, all those chicks, the albatross chicks and in the whales, many of those items are plastic toothbrushes. So why can you not use, these are bamboo and wooden toothbrushes. They are now available in the groceries. You look in your groceries, no? They're available. So try to buy this and convince your friends to buy this. Stop na these plastics. Even facial tissue, there's bamboo, natural. Here, cutlery or mga spoons and forks, these are wooden. This is plastic. Wooden, plastic, wooden. Pwede naman. Hair brushes, we can have wooden already. Even the chopping boards. I threw away. This is a plastic chopping board, no? You can have chopping boards used to be wooden a long time ago. So dapat iba na itong plastic chopping boards. So the last few slides. Now, here in the sea, all of this, wow. Grabe talaga, no? There will be more plastics in the ocean than fish in your lifetime. We do have disposable cups. So these are plastic na naman. But we have paper bowls. These are paper, made of paper. So look when you buy, no, look at, is it plastic or is it paper or is it bamboo? And you act in the best interest of the environment. So in the grocery, this is, I think, in Thailand. Yan, the wrappers, hindi plastic, no? Banana wrappers. And then here, this is in, I think, somewhere in the Philippines, I forget na. Here, more banana wrappers. Why can we not do this in our groceries? Coconut leaves can be used to, I don't know, these are oranges. Grocery stores, these are again banana wrappers here. If it is legislated, I think these groceries will follow, no? I hear San Carlos. Some of you are from Negros. Now, native trees. I told you I'm with the PNTE. This is Macaranga tanarius or Macaranga gradifolia. The local name is takip asin because it is used to takip asin, and it's also used, it's sold in the market. It's used for packaging, wrapping fish at ano pa, no? Very environmental. And in the town next to Iloilo City, banned na ang plastic bags. They only have paper bags here. I'm sorry to say that they are ahead of Iloilo City, where I live. Iloilo City, you still see a lot of plastic bags. This is no longer the case in Oton. So if the local government regulates, maybe kayo, no, mga young people, you can write letters. Then why not you say, dear Vice Mayor, who is the head of the council, in Oton, Iloilo, they no longer allow plastic bags in public groceries. Then suggest that, why don't we follow suit, something like that. So finally, this is not really plastics, but it's also related. Local food and food that is imported. Food that is imported has ghost miles. Why? It comes on a super tanker or on these big jumbo jets, no? And you can imagine the carbon footprint of those jumbo jets. So you pay for the product itself, but you also pay for the carbon footprint, the fuel of those jumbo jets. So those are ghost miles. Whereas with local food, this is the fisherman in your wet market. Wala nang ghost miles, no? So buy locally. You don't have to buy export products. Again, still all these plastics. Thailand. I like to show these things from the internet. In some place in Thailand, it was banned na yung plastic bag. So they brought balde. Somebody brought this. Somebody brought a sack. Somebody brought even luggage and a wheelbarrow, just to comply with the regulation that there should be no plastic bags. Why not? And this is in Palawan. Oh, Palawan pala is doing it na. No plastic bags. So what do they have? An uway, a basket made of rattan, buri, all kinds of baskets here. No plastic bags. So if Palawan can do it and Thailand can do it, why can you not do it in your town? And here's the regulation. Taxation. Tax plastic use, albeit to enforce law halting use of plastic, ban plastic bags. So that is where the local government can really make a difference. And as I said, Oton now, paper bags. The last 2 or 3 years, wala nang paper bags in Oton. And this one here, in Cagayan de Oro also, they have a plastic ban in place now. And they had violators that were apprehended. Another city ordinance, I cannot read now what city this is, but again, bawal. Bawal ang plastic and polystyrene. Yun. So what you can use and what you cannot use. Gensan, ban on open burning and use of plastics. This is Cagayan de Oro. 2019 pa ginadili ang paggamit sa plastic bag. Halata. Ang pwede gamiton kay ang basket, bayog o kining eco-bag. And this one is in Balanga, Bataan. Every day is a plastic holiday. Can you imagine that every day? It's like Oto, no? Bawal na gid ang plastics. So, even boat captain and boat crews, no longer ang bottled water. And from dump site to port. So these small things are doable, but you know, they will go a long way in helping the environment. So I end with this slide. Will plastics really outweigh fish in the oceans by 2020? it depends on you, young people, no? If you will allow it, then yes. Thank you. Let me stop.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you po, Dr. Primavera. That was a very good discussion po ng ating situation ngayon sa Philippines. And now, I would like to let's open the floor for the Q&A. Again, thank you very much to our speakers, Ms. Susan Joyce from DENR Biodiversity Management Bureau, Ms. Maria Tessa Ramon from Eastern Visayas Native Trees Enthusiasts, and of course, Dr. Georgine Primavera from Zoological Society of London. I'm sure our participants have learned a lot from all the speakers today and have some questions for them. Now, let us invite back our speakers for the Q&A. And we will be reading the questions sent in the Zoom registration, Zoom chat, and from the YouTube live chat. Okay po, may mga katanungan na tayo. Unang-una po ay para kay Ms. Joyce. How can NSTP students based in urban areas contribute to or help your urban biodiversity program?
Okay, so first and foremost po, ayun nga, kanina 'di ba we talked about yung ating mga native trees. So, kumbaga, kailangan din natin ipa-appreciate kahit sa mga planners yung paggamit din ng mga native trees natin in our urban areas. And also, isa pang way is kung kaya, alam mo yun, yung parang let us reduce our carbon footprints. Kung kaya nating mag-bike to school, mga ganon. Yung mga ganon. And then, also, pwede natin na support yung ating mga urban parks. Kumbaga, pwede natin silang i-promote. Like for example, itong Ninoy Aquino Parks and Wildlife Center, pwede kayo ditong, kumbaga, ito yung i-visit nyo and then help i-promote natin yung mga urban parks dito sa Quezon City. Ayun. Yun isang way siya para, kumbaga, simple ways para ma-promote din natin or makatulong tayo sa urban biodiversity.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. Ito namang sunod na question natin ay para sa lahat ng speakers. So anyone can open their mics later kung sino po mauna. Okay. In your opinion, what are the current most effective methods of nature protection and biodiversity?
Oh. In my opinion, parang Miss Universe talaga, ano. Okay, para sa akin, watershed management and reforestation. Yun yung, kung pangkalahatan, like general. Kasi watershed, nandiyan lahat eh. Pati tubig, from tubig, from the top yan eh, from the mountains, going down, ridge to reef nga, ang sinasabi. So if you do intentional habitat expansion, like plant watershed species, lahat na yan. Pati disaster management, pati biodiversity, wildlife na invigoration, lahat na naaano nila. So yun yung actually pinofocus ko ngayon, yung watershed REFO, kasi yung pinaka para sa akin malaking impact.
Thank you po, Ma'am Tessa. Anyone would like to add or share their opinion na personally take po nila? Sige po, Ma'am.
Sa akin naman, nature-based solutions such as yung mga wetland conservation, ecosystems restoration. Medyo, kumbaga parang kung titingnan natin, parang large scale siya. Pero pwede naman natin siya unti-unti and we can help in our own ways dito sa ating mga tinatawag ito mga nature-based solutions na to. Para kasi, kumbaga ito din kasi yung parang pang-combat na rin ng climate change. Kumbaga, yun naman sa akin. Nature-based solutions pa rin.
Thank you po. Kayo po ba, Dr. Georgine, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. Ano nga ulit yung question?
In your opinion, what are the current most effective methods of nature protection and biodiversity?
Okay. Even before PNTE, meron na kaming ano, no? I had a nursery of native trees. 2004 siguro yun. And then we started a tree park of native trees in 2008, mga 3 hectares. Kasi ang ano ko talaga, it's deforestation is the major problem of our country. Imagine you have only 6% forest cover or something like that. Grabe, no? Lahat ng problema natin nandyan eh. So, that happened, yung tree park, nung I retired, so imbes na we would have a world tour, sabi ko, bili tayo ng 3 hectares, we plant our native trees there. So at first, the local people said, ano yung tinatanim nyo? Anong crop yun? Anong mahogany ba? Yung ibenta na kahoy, ganyan-ganyan. So sabi ko, hindi, mga native trees. Bakit native trees? Pang biodiversity. Ano yung biodiversity? Actually, no, that was 2008. The trees I planted so far, 80 species of trees. And then 5 years ago, nag-start na silang nanganak. Yung naging mother trees. Ito na yung naging biodiversity. Kasi nung nanganganak sila, that means may mga fruits at may mga seeds, no? Ako, when I see a seed, ayokong itapon yung seed. Tinatanim ko talaga yan. So, sabi ko, wow, ang daming, yung isang tree ko, thousands of seeds. So, seed dispersal system, yung na-mention ni Tessa. But on my part, what I do is 10 times a year on social media, sa page ko, I list yung mother trees ko na nanganganak na. Ito, available, ganyan. So those interested, please PM me, and then in order of priority, I send the seeds. So that's for 5 years na, 10 times a year. And then every time I send, mga 5,000 seeds siguro yun of 10 to 15 species. And then I got to realizing, ito pala yung biodiversity na sabi ko sa mga local people, no? I told them for that biodiversity, and it is really biodiversity. And it introduces, kasi we can introduce naman people to native trees, all the things that Tessa said, no? You have awareness building, you have visitors, you have camps, ganito, ganyan, no? But one other way is by dispersing the seeds. Kasi kung they are convinced and then they have the area or at least a nursery, nasaan yung seeds? Ayun. Then you give them the seeds, yun. So I think that is the way to go. And there are a number of us na may mga tree parks na, may mother trees na. We just have to set up the system for seed dispersal. And yun lang ang problema. Itong mga young people, iba pa yung concerns nila. It's really older people ang nakaka-interest sa native trees. But sana, younger people also. Kasi, this will be yours. The environmental problems will be yours when we are gone. So, you better start thinking about them now. Yun lang.
Thank you so much. So to summarize, ang mga nabanggit po na ating mga speakers ay watershed reforestation and nature-based solutions, and reforestation, specifically yung mga native tree natin.
Adele, if
Okay.
I may add, sorry.
Yes po, sige po, pwede po.
Yung since pinag-uusapan na rin lang naman natin native tree appreciation, baka maging interesado yung ating mga students dun sa Philippine Native Trees 101, 202, tsaka 303 na books. Sobrang saya niyang basahin. I mean, may mga facts about native trees, pero may mga stories, mga anecdotal yung mga stories niya. So, pwede you can check it out, yung Philippine Native Trees. You can ask Ma'am Tessa about the book.
May bago, yung alay.
Oo.
No, alay is more recent. Ang nauna talaga
More
yung
recent.
upload.
Series siya.
3 volumes na, no? And I contributed to each one of them. Kasi mga contributors yun, mga your own personal experiences. And then, as you said, it's much more interesting. Hindi ako nagbuhat ng bangko. Buti at you mentioned it, kami ni Tessa, that's our own, ano bang tawag doon? I love my native land. But anyway, I'm glad that you mentioned it. Oo, kasi we have already materials, yung up close and personal 101, 102, and 202, and 303. Then the next is Alay, yung minention mo. Ang ganda ng Alay. This is the book of former Secretary Vic Ramos. His journey, no? Pareho kami, mga 3 hectares. Pero yung sa kanya, 30 years and 300 species na kalamang. Siyempre, secretary siya ng DENR. Ako hindi, no? So, he has all the resources. Naka 300 species siya. Pero yun, na-document niya dun. At ang maganda yung passion, makuha mo yung passion. So, young people, no? If you like to read, hindi lang yung mga love story kung anong walang kabuluhan dyan, ng mga chismis of all this, ano. You get a copy of the book. I think si Vic maybe provided copies to all universities, dapat, no? So, you borrow the copy from the university and be inspired. Ako talagang yung sinulat niya, di ba, you read that first part na sinulat niya, talagang nakakaano yung kanya. Yun lang.
Saan po kaya namin to mabibili or ma-access po? Para alam po ng ating mga participants.
Si one of our members, si Sel Tunggol, has a green bookshop. Nandun yung mga books on trees. So, I don't know. You can write me, you can email me na lang, and then I'll send you her details, address, email, phone number. And she was with us sa Batangas. May dala-dala siya mga libro doon na including yung Alay.
Pwede din magpa-member kayo sa PNTE kasi we're always naman sa mga books. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you po. Noted po doon.
Can I add to yung
Papa-member.
kasi hindi mo na-mention, ang PNTE is the mother tree, the mother NTE, no? Ang daming anak ng PNTE, Visayan, NTE.
Oo. Nakalimutan ko.
Mindanao, Sonata, ano pa yun, and then Pangasinan, basta more than 1 dozen NTEs. Kasi,
I'm planning kasi, Doc, na dun sa toolkit, dun ko kung yung mga regional hubs para alam nila kung saan sila mag-work. Like volunteer or they want to get like a resource person perhaps sa local nila, dun alam nila. Nandun yun dapat sa toolkit. Hindi na mataas na nga yung presentation ko, mahaba. Pataka lagi ko Bisaya.
lagi.
Anyway, yun. Andun, yes. Nanganak na kami.
Okay, it's okay po. We will disseminate the toolkit po sa kanilang lahat. Meron po pala tayong question from the chat box. Yan, so to all the speakers, what can we do about online products delivered with lots of plastic wrapping?
Wow, problema talaga yan, no? You know, because my son, parang 2 years yata siya, every week may delivery. Ang daming plastic. I don't know. I think it's worldwide. It's a problem. So, the only dyan is legislation. And it's a long-term solution kasi we should have substitutes for plastics. That was excluded in my presentation. Merong ways to, kasi yung plastics, no, you have different components. Plastic component, a starch component, ganon. In Malaysia, they're developing plastics using sago starch. So they reduce the proportion of plastics, increase the proportion of starch without compromising the utility, functionality of the product. So it's long term, dapat ganun. Universities, Department of Science and Technology, doon sila yung mga modern technologies, doon sila mag-invest so that we get away from plastics. May cards, so there are cards that biodegrade in what, 4 months? I've seen these cards, no? Made of cornstarch. And then in 4 months, wala na siya. That's the direction to go. Kasi if you don't have substitutes, you cannot say stop using these plastic products. Kasi they need the packaging. So yun siguro yung long term. And that should be the OSC, that should be the universities. Universities should focus on that. Yeah.
Thank you po. Will the other speakers would like to Ay, Ma'am
May
Tessa?
may mga biodegradable na naman ngayon na plastic, even sa pots ng ano. Actually, I'm using mas mahal-mahal siya, pero um, I'm using biodegradable na pots na. So like mga, I think mga a year or 2 years time na ano na siya. So okay. Pero itong mga ako mismo, ang dami kong order, yung mga especially mga seeds. So plano ko ay collect talaga yung mga LBC, JNT na mga package kasi tataniman ko ng petchay. Like may plano ako ano ko siya, puro mga LBC yan siya kay JNT, tapos tataniman ko ng petchay or herbs para makita. Anyway, yun yung ginagawa ko.
Thank you po.
Ako naman, meron kasi kumbaga meron talaga akong pinapasahan ng mga plastics ko. Meron kasi kaming, kumbaga may relative kami na, kumbaga nagbi-business din siya. So kumbaga para makatipid na siya dun sa mga packaging, yung mga, for example, bubble wraps, binibigay ko na rin sa kanya. Tsaka, sorry, nakalimutan ko lang yung pangalan, pero may mga organizations kasi, may mga, as in parang NGOs na tumatanggap, ay, somewhere in Mandaluyong yun eh. Doon, iniipon namin yung
Plastic
sister
flamingo,
ko.
tama po ba?
Yeah, ang ganun. Tsaka, sa ano rin, yung may pina-follow ako yung The Good Trade PH. Pag ngayon, may bazaar na uli sila. Pag meron silang bazaar, meron doon drop-off ng mga plastics, just mga, lahat ng recyclables. Try nyo sa Instagram, yung The Good Trade PH. Maganda na rin siyang kumbaga, baka may mga links na rin doon eh. Nakalimutan ko lang talaga yung pangalan nung mga organizations na nagre-receive ng mga plastic packaging from our online shopping. Yun.
Sana maano yun, no? Yung ganun, ma-institutionalize, dapat local ordinances kasi yung 9%, only 9% of plastics are recycled. Dapat gawin niyang 50%. The only way that will come about is if it is regulated, if it is legislated. Yun. Parang protected areas ba? May legislated, may promulgated. Dapat legislated na yan so that if you have plastic packaging, dapat yung LBC should show evidence na they use X tons of plastics and they also recycled an equivalent X tons. Ganun ba? No? So at least yung 9% of plastics, only 9% recycled, it should go up. It really should go up.
Thank you po sa inyong mga sagot. Meron lang po tayong comment sa chat box. Ma'am Tessa, it seems like Antipolo is fast becoming occupied by humans while it is a watershed area.
Yun yung part bakit yung we're decreasing. Yung mga pag delineate, diba? Diba si ma'am? Sa LGU kasi yan eh. Kasi may comprehensive land use program naman sila. Tapos hindi yan nasusunod. So, talaga political will yan. For me political will yan. Kasi meron na naman tayong yun na nga sabi, comprehensive land use program, plan. Pero hindi nasusunod. Pag ayaw ng LGU na pabahayan, wala naman sila magagawa eh. Kasi kaya yun. Yeah, it's beyond yung our hands na talaga eh.
Nasa LGU na po ng Antipolo yung tao po. Okay po. Meron po ding nag-share lang ng ginagawa po nila sa Angeles City. Sabi niya po sa chat box, here in Angeles City, Pampanga po, our barangay launched a program po of Palit Bigas, wherein the citizens here are to collect plastics and equivalent to its kilo po is the exchange for kilos of rice. And just sharing po. Yun na po ginagawa nila.
Baka may mga ginagawa sila to recycle that, or probably eco-bricks. Have you heard about eco-bricks? Yung ginagawa nila.
Yes.
Nila yung tapos ginagamit nilang building materials. Parang ganun din, may sa Cebu din na mga organizations na gumagawa nun. Sana nga. Pero meron naman tayo din Extended Producers Act, 'di ba ngayon, ma'am, na yung mga producers natin, they are held responsible. Yung corporate responsibility nila sa mga plastic na ano nila. So may extended na Producers Act na din tayo. So I'd love to read more about that also.
Compliance. Yun.
Oo.
So, sana po no, mas marami pa po ang mga gantong mga kilusan, kumbaga, or mga sumunod na corporate, yun dun sa sinabi niyo po nga po, na mag-comply sila dun sa corporate responsibility nila. Ngayon naman po, meron lang po tayong last question. Yan, para po to sa inyong lahat. In your opinion, what is the biggest environmental threat today, and how can we overcome it as a country?
Sino bang mauna?
Kahit sino po. Pwede po kayo mauna, Ma'am Tessa.
Para sa akin, it's our mindless consumerism. Yung hindi natin, hindi tayo mindful kung anong kinukonsume natin. Hindi natin alam na ito ay may impact sa iba, or sa environment natin. Hindi natin alam yung mga kahit konti mga plastic natin, may impact talaga somewhere. Yun na nga, na tayo, hindi pa tayo nakapunta dun sa Australia, yung ano natin, yung napkin natin, andun na sa Australia. Anyway, so, yun, I would like to start kasi sa self natin. So, yung mindless na consumerism natin, sana bawas-bawasan, sana we become conscientious with how we consume things. Sana we would produce our own food para yun, win-win situation nakakaano ka sa carbon dioxide sequestration, tapos yung pagkain mo pa, yung fuel na pinapamalengke mo, nasa-save mo pa yon, yung trash na inaano mo sa pamalengke mo, nasa-save mo yon. So that's it, parang siya talagang impactful, even just with growing your own food.
Thank you po. The others would like to add?
Sa akin naman, bukod sa climate change na talagang nararamdaman na natin yung epekto, apathy. Kasi sa apathy, di ba, yung parang marami yung walang pakialam, tingin nila hindi sila apektado. So, masusolusyonan lang, yun, katulad ng nasabi ni Ms. Tessa nga, di ba, dahil apathetic siya sa kapaligiran niya. Nagli-lead siya dun nga sa mindless consumerism na bili lang ako ng bili, tapon ko to, ay hindi ko na to papaayos, bibili ako. Tapos, or kain lang ako ng kain sa buffet. Diba? Kung more than what I can consume. So, food waste pa rin yun. So, ayun, tingin ko, bukod sa yun nga, climate change na talagang kailangan na nating solusyon, kailangan tulong-tulong na tayo para ma-mitigate yung effects niya, ay yung apathy naman, itong mga katulad dito, mga forum, mga continuous na education, whether be it formal or informal, para magkaroon ng awareness, understanding, at hopefully mag-lead into behavioral change din eventually. Yun.
Thank you po. Kayo po, Dr. Georgie, would you like to add?
Yeah, I agree with the two speakers, no, yung consumerism, sarili lang, and hindi iniisip yung environment. I think walang respect for the environment. So, you can solve that with awareness, and then to a certain extent, may magawa ang tao, but only to a certain extent. Kasi governance will come in talaga. Even if you have such awareness, kung the governance is such na hindi rin nire-respeto yung yung will of the people, change will not come about. So, yung mindfulness should not only be sa ordinary people like you and me, It should be at all levels of society, especially our leaders. It should start with them kasi they lead us, no? And we have put our trust in them. Yun. So, yun ang, for the Philippines anyway, yun ang nakikita kong medyo worrisome for me.
Maraming salamat po. I'm sure that our participants have more questions, but unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. So if you have any more questions, you may send them directly to our speakers. We will provide yung kung paano niya sila magko-contact later.
May
Okay,
i-add
so...
lang pala ako.
Ay, okay po. Sige po, Ma'am
Ano
Tessa.
lang, oo. Kung sino man sa inyo you want to start your own nursery or sa school man ninyo, just ping us. Just message me. Gawa natin ang paraan para makapadala tayo ng seeds. Kasi may ganyan naman kaming culture na we share seeds, especially those sa mga gustong mag-start ng nursery. So, yan. Go.
Salamat po.
That,
Yes
one
po,
last,
Dr.
ang maganda ng PNPE is it recognizes the archipelagic nature of our country. Yung country natin hindi umusgad kasi doon tayo nag-pattern sa colony. US isang malaking mainland. Tapos yung maliit lang. Tayo opposite eh. We have many islands. So doon tayo, we stuck to the Imperial Manila model for such a long time, to the neglect of our islands. But I'm so happy yung PNPE with all the anak in the Visayas, in Mindanao, and kung saan pa, it really accepts the archipelago. And maganda yun, Tessa, na you go ahead with your toolkit and you invite all these young people. You don't need to go to Metro Manila to have all of this. Yun. So,
Totoo.
yun.
Marami po salamat. I'm sure po baka po maraming kumontak sa inyo mamaya at in the next days. At sana po ay dumami ang miyembro ng PNP. Excited po kami. Pati po ako mag-check out ko po yung mga pages mo na sinabi po ninyong lahat.
Yes.
Okay po. Okay lang po ba this time we would like to present the certificate of appreciation to our speakers? Ayan, okay. So we will give the certificate of appreciation to Miss Susan Joyce Te, Miss Maria Tessa Ramos, and Dr. Georgine Primavera for today's session, Kalikasan, a webinar on environmental protection. And may I request again na mag-keep lang po yung speakers natin ng camera nila on and pipicturean po kayo if that's okay. We would like to ask for your consent to be given to the university through the NSTP Diliman office to use your name and photos for documentation and the report. Okay po. Sige po. Si Miss Joyce po muna. 1, 2, 3. Picture. Thank you po. Next po si Miss Tessa Ramos. Kaya handa na po. 1, 2, 3. Yan, salamat po. And last but not the least, Dr. Georgine Primavera. Ready po? 1, 2, 3. Ayan, salamat po. Ngayon po, without the certificate, speakers, let us have a group picture. And I think kasama po ako. Yan po. So, ayan. Dolly, ayan, mag-picture. Okay.
Okay,
Ready?
hello. Ayan, open cam lang po tayo. Alright. Sige. Isa-isa po muna. Bale, first page, okay. And 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, move po tayo sa second page. Smile lang po. May nangangawit na ba kayo? 1, 2, 3, and smile. Great. At yun lamang po. Thank you so much.
Okay, nag-group picture na rin pala with everyone. Thank you, Dolly. Nabigla ako doon. Nakapag-open mo ng cameras lahat? Okay, I think okay naman. Meron bang hindi nakapag share ng kanilang picture? Okay. Ayan, sige. Okay naman na. Thank you everyone for opening your cameras and super na-appreciate namin. And nakaka-refresh din to see yung faces ninyo na nag-participate in this webinar. So that concludes our webinar today. Thank you again to our speakers and all our participants on Zoom and YouTube Live. For those who missed or would like to revisit the whole Bayanihan webinar series, you can watch it on UP Diliman NSTP's YouTube channel. Just look for NSTP Diliman on YouTube. We would like to invite our participants sa iba pa naming mga activities. Una, inihandog ng National Service Reserve Corps UPD ng NSTP Diliman Office kasama ng Quezon City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office ang isang community-based disaster risk reduction and management workshop sa pagpapatuloy ng UNLAD 2022 Kawayan sa Tagatibay Pampamayanan. Tatalakayin dito ang disaster timeline, ang mga yugto nito, ang mga tungkulin natin at nararapat na paghahanda sa panahon ng sakuna. Ito ay gaganapin ngayong Sabado. Yan, so save nyo na yung date, October 22, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Ang isa pa naming webinar series, Balangkas NSTP Project Management Webinar Series ay gaganapin sa November 7. Pag-uusapan naman ang mga dapat at hindi dapat kapag nag-i-implement ng mga proyekto. Open po ito para sa lahat at para sa iba pang webinar series or more details sa mga nabanggit na activities kanina at resource materials for NSTP, please like and follow us on Facebook. Just search for NSTP Diliman Office. To our participants, please don't forget to accomplish the evaluation form. The link is on the screen and will also be sent to the chat. That is bit.ly/Kalikasan evaluation. And the evaluation form will be accepting responses until Tuesday. Yan, so may time pa kayo magsagot. Yan. Sa October 8 siya isasara at 5 p.m. Again, please make sure na tama ang details nyo, especially sa name for the